Hello everybody and welcome to week 3 of the Writing from Life Winter Writing Challenge. The place to find your inspiration, projects and writing prompts to keep you going for at least another week. First up, apologies for the late posting of last week's video. As you probably heard, there was a bit of a storm go through the east coast of Australia, and whilst we weren't hit too badly here in Tassie, it did knock our phone and internet out for 2 days. Nothing quite like not having the internet to make you appreciate how much you use it. Thankfully though, it only made the video 2 hours late. Could have been a lot worse, but like I say, sorry for the delay. Hope it didn't mess your writing around too much. So, how did you go with last week's challenges? Were you able to find time to watch the video, organising your written memories, and to sort out where you're going to put your stories so that you can always find the story that you want, and no matter when you stop, your stories will always be in an order that's easy for anybody to follow or read? I found that part of the challenge quite easy, basically because I am writing everything on the computer and I'd already done it, so I was already one ahead of anybody else out there who hadn't yet started organising. The one thing that I have found interesting though is the routine aspect of writing. As I said at the beginning, the point of me doing this challenge, apart from helping other people write about their life, is the fact that it makes me accountable, the fact that it helps me to actually write all the stories rather than continually thinking, oh, that would be a good story to write. Oh, maybe I should write that one down, but never quite getting around to doing it. Much to my surprise, although I had set up my routine writing to be Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday early evening, I've found that I'm writing more. I'm actually writing when I'm thinking about it, as opposed to carrying on with my life and then when the time comes around that I'm supposed to be writing, sitting down and writing. So that's a rather nice surprise. One thing that doesn't surprise me though is the fact that I am motivated to put words on the page purely so that when I do these videos I don't have to say, oops, didn't quite get around to it. I had thought about it. So I'm pleased to say that doing these videos and talking to you and sharing my updates is actually motivating me to write about my life. So yay, way to go. Obviously the theory behind the videos is worth it, but hopefully it's also helping you to get the words on the page. Next question. How are you going with writing your notes in your notebook? How are you going with jotting down the anecdotes about things that have happened in your life? Again, I was quite surprised. I'd thought that I was only going to come up with the occasional idea, the occasional memory to put in my book, and then I'd sit down and write it. But it turns out that now the memories are actually starting to flow, at least the ones for the first 20 odd years of my life. And so I'm sitting down with my cuppa and I'm thinking, oh, I'll write one. And then before I know it, I've written 5. So although I haven't yet reached the 20 anecdote mark in my book, I am definitely approaching it, which is really nice. What I like about writing in the notebook is that I'm writing down anecdotes, I'm writing down moments in time, which I wouldn't normally write down as a story because it's not big enough. Whereas if I'm just writing 100 to 120 odd words about an event, then it's a great way to record the moments. You know, I keep coming up with habits that I used to have, or thoughts, or, like I say, moments in time. How often I used to go and visit a friend who lived down the street, or a 3-line conversation that I had with somebody that has always stuck in my mind, or just a reflection on a moment. Like I say, these are not big enough things to write a whole story about, but they're really great anecdotes to put in my notebook, and they are important. They are things I don't want forgotten. So if you needed motivation and inspiration and a reason for writing down your anecdotes in the notebook, there you go. That's the perfect reason for writing down the thoughts that come to your mind. So having talked about all the projects for last week, I suppose we best get to the one for this week, for week 3. And it is to check out some of the photos that you have a look back, whether it's in a photo album that you've got somewhere, whether it's newspaper clippings, whether it's photos that you've got on your computer or on your phone, whether it's photos that family members have of your life. Doesn't matter. The challenge is to find some and write about at least one of them. At one time, photos used to be everywhere. I mean, I know when I think back to my childhood or even my teenage years, we always used to have photo albums around, and you'd flick through them to go back and reminisce. I think the last photo album that I have was of my wedding, which has to have been 33 years ago. I don't know that we actually have a photo album since then, because of course these days we very rarely actually take photos with film. We don't go down to the chemist and get the photos processed. We just hold up our phone and take a picture and click the button, and if we don't like it, we don't keep it, we delete it. And if we do like it, we probably post it on social media or email it to somebody or store it in a file. Life has changed quite dramatically in that aspect, I guess, which has its benefits. Although thinking about it, I quite like the nostalgia of flicking through a photo album, but they do take up a lot of space on the shelf and they do attract a lot of dust. And of course these days it's easier to share photos. Anyway, no matter how your photos are taken or where they're stored, that is the project for this week. Find some photos that you have and write about one. I mean, you might even want to ask family members if they want to send you their favourite photos of you and the family, or your friends. So many options, just in case you need extra places to look for your photos. And then, of course, if you do want a writing prompt for this week, as I would recommend, check on this YouTube channel at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, Tassie time, because of course there will be the weekly writing prompt waiting there patiently for you to click on and write about. So there you have it. That is this week's part of the challenge. Gather together some photos, flick through them and write about one of them, or more of them if you feel inspired, but at least one. Then, of course, if you want a writing prompt as well, there is the one here on Tuesday. Is that enough to keep you going? Enough to motivate you? Personally, I think I'm going to be looking into my notebook as well and coming up with more events and moments in time that I want to remember and capture for the future. So hopefully I'll be closer to at least 30 anecdotes written in my book by next week. And having said all that, all I can say is have a fun week with your writing, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Bye.